Greetings and welcome once again to the Integrate This podcast. As you can see, David and I are joined today by Amber Doering. Amber is the school and district team member from Quizizz, and she's here to join us today. So we're happy to have you with us, Amber. Thank you so much for giving up your time today to share about a great product called Quizizz.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
So Amber, tell us a little bit about your journey through education, the edtech world. How did you arrive at Quizizz, and what does school and district team member mean at Quizizz?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually went to college to be a Spanish teacher. Spent 8 pretty amazing years doing that in Montevideo. Um, Kind of following that, I transitioned into a remote role in international education. I served on our local board of education, and I kind of realized I was missing, and I enjoyed being connected still in some way to teachers and students. And then after the pandemic, I feel like all of us were doing some soul searching then, right? But I decided that, I was looking for maybe some sort of a new challenge. I was pretty intrigued at the potential of getting involved in the ed tech industry. I'd seen, some things that some of my teacher friends were doing, and thinking that was pretty cool. So I thought, well, maybe I can get involved with something like that. And then I learned about the mission of Quizzes and met some of the people who were working there. And then I just kind of knew it was going to be a really good fit. I feel pretty grateful to work with some of the most innovative folks in the industry.
It's funny you mentioned being a Spanish teacher, because some of the most interesting and knowledgeable people within the edtech world that I know and interact with began as Spanish teachers. We just
Spanish specifically.
Spanish
Wow.
specifically. We had an interview the other day, which by the time we show this will have aired, with another technology integration coach from Orono, who just is
Cool.
doing some really fantastic things with AI as well, and a Spanish teacher. And I know also the another person that I taught with for a year in Malacca, who's now has moved on, and he's a tech integration person in the Blaine School District and is just doing fantastic stuff there too. So I feel like there must be some sort of pipeline here into what they're giving you, right, in your education training, specifically in Spanish, that just it seems to play really, really well with the ed tech audience too.
Well, even Megan on my team was taught Spanish for over a decade. So
Yeah,
and
there's another one.
honestly, it's awesome for a lot of tech stuff, because like ELL is such a big component. It's like some of our schools that using tech for English language learners has become a huge thing. So it's super helpful.
Yeah, interesting. I feel like too, any language, you kind of walk that line between like being an elementary teacher, being a middle school teacher, and being a high school teacher, because you're teaching kind of elementary content to start in usually some wacky ways. I mean, we're all a little bit goofy in the classroom. But then working with those older students and meeting their needs. So maybe that has something to do with
So
it.
you're
Who knows?
saying working with adults, with professional educators, is similar to working with
With elementary students? No.
yeah, maybe.
Amber, what would you say, like speaking of, technology in the classroom and how all of us are knee deep in that, what would you say is the most important thing for technology in today's classroom, specifically when it comes to student engagement and learning outcomes, and maybe how Quizzes meets that?
Yeah. No, I appreciate this question a lot because I feel like technology plays an important role, but it's not the be all end all. I really feel like it has the potential to enhance the work of the real heroes, like the teachers who are in there, because nothing is going to replace that strong teacher-student relationship when it comes to learning and being successful. Um, that said, I think the role and the support that technology can provide when it's used intentionally, right? That can be pretty incredible and pretty powerful. In my role, I get to talk with administrators and tech coaches and instructional coaches every day. And they pretty consistently share that they feel like Quizzes is that resource that kind of balances the right, mix of engagement and rigor. Teachers can use it easily, but it keeps their students motivated towards improvement. I had a teacher tell me the other day that, like my kids are asking to do quizzes. They actually want to, like do it again, and, want to get a better score. So I feel like when that happens, that's a win.
Right. Along with those, what sort of challenges, what sort of other challenges, other maybe than engagement here that you're kind of talking about a little bit and keeping students pulled in, but what other challenges do you think teachers face when they're trying to implement tech and ed tech solutions? And what do you think Quizzes does that really helps to address some of those concerns that teachers have?
Well, I think we are definitely in the information age, and there are a lot of resources out there, and that can be really overwhelming. I feel like there's always a shiny new tool that someone's exploring and somebody's trying, and I think honestly that can get pretty overwhelming and pretty tiring for teachers who, on top of all that, still have to meet all of these things they need to do with their students. We kind of use the term tech fatigue, and I think that's a real thing. It's like just when you learn one resource, then you have to, maybe learn something else, and that can be hard. I think something that Quizzes has done more recently is added some additional functionality so that teachers can do more in one place. They don't have to jump from tool to tool. They can do assessments in Quizzes. They can do lessons in Quizzes. They can, work with flashcards or interactive video or reading comprehension even. There's a lot they can do in that space, and it's pretty intuitive to use.
Yeah, I can't imagine that because I mean, I sometimes get overwhelmed with the sheer number of tools and things that are available. Like I would then want something that would just be able to kind of streamline and make, my job of seeking out the right tool for the right activity, for the right lesson, for the right objective is going to be super important.
Yeah, totally. And teachers know, right? They
Yeah.
know what they need to get done for that lesson, that objective, whatever it is. And Quizzes just tries to make it a little bit easier by having those resources kind of consolidated in one place.
Maybe this would be a good time if you don't mind, just kind of for people who are unfamiliar with the tool, uh, showing us like a brief demo or an overview of the program so that they can get a sense for what it looks like aesthetically and what's available in there to them.
Yeah, of course. Happy to do that. Let me share my screen here, and we'll take a peek at what Quizzes looks like now. Um, I'm going to give a shout out to all of the teachers who've been using Quizzes previously. We started in 2015, really as kind of a solution for gamified formative assessment and keeping kids excited and kind of motivated towards mastering. Actually, really started with a focus on math. Since then, it has exploded into having topics in all content areas, all grade levels. You can see here I was searching like AP Physics review, and you can also search something like double digit addition. So when you pull up any sort of a topic within the quizzes library, you have options now in a variety of modes and different resources that you can share. So any teacher can create a quizzes account and you can access content within there. So the assessments are what people kind of know and love quizzes for, those quick quizzes that they can play live in class and compete against each other, or maybe that you assign for them to do in small groups or for independent practice. Um, Now we also have lessons. So you can see here too, if we want to do a lesson, it's essentially an interactive slideshow where there's some content, but then maybe also some checks for understanding then built in there as well. We have interactive videos too, which are kind of those videos that allow you to um, check for understanding along the way. They maybe watch for a minute, answer a question before moving on and getting things done that way. Flashcards are brand new, I would say, within the last month, and allowing students to just kind of have that independent practice on their own. And then we've added passages as well. So look at this, a reading comprehension passage on double digit addition. Who even knew that that existed? But there's so much content in here that teachers can use directly. They can, create their own if they don't see what they like, or they can modify. And we have a lot of different ways to do that, both within our instructional suite here, where you can kind of choose what you want to do, or using our new AI feature as well.
And I'm guessing that with the different things that you have available, they can, if they would like to build something of their own, they can build it with multiple components, right? So if they want to have like pieces of a lesson, incorporating interactive videos and passages, and then finishing
Yep.
it up with an assessment, they can pair all those things together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've seen some pretty cool examples where teachers have built a lesson, and then they've done that either from scratch or using our Google Slides add-on, and then within here they can actually link out to some flashcard practice or an assessment, or like you said, to a particular video. Those can all just be embedded right within here. So some pretty cool options there.
Okay, so I got to say I'm, mostly new to quizzes, right?
Uh-huh.
Obviously I've heard of it, but I've not really done the deep dive into it until our next episode when David's going to make me know. But the flashcard thing, it really intrigues me, and not to throw a competitor, maybe perhaps under the bus, whose name sounds a little like that, but they have their privacy policies kind of structured so that you can't really use it in our schools anymore as an effective tool to help students review. So this looks like a really great option, I think, for me to even share with other teachers, because I get asked about flashcard uses, and to be able to point them in the direction of a tool that I think is solid and is going to protect the privacy rights of our students would be really huge.
Yeah, I think the other cool thing about, quizzes and flashcards, I mentioned like they just kind of launched maybe a month or so ago. Those are going to continue to evolve. Every piece of our instructional suite is not static. Like our development team is constantly taking feedback from teachers, from administrators, using that into how to improve and make it better. So we've already been having some kind of product feedback calls with users who are like, oh, it would be excellent if it could do this, or have you ever thought about adding this? And that all goes back to our product team to help them inform what they do next.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering too. Just one quick follow up with the platform. So some of the other tools that I know, like our organization at our educational learning centers has used, things like Lumio, which is its own platform, which is by Smart, and there's several others too. Is there one of the things that I think teachers like a lot in my experience working with them is when there are not just like where you can build your own, like we talked about, but also that there's a lot of times a vast library of resources of pre-built content that they can either use outright or that they can modify for their own classroom needs. Does Quizzes have something like that as well, or are they working on it, or how is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's like 40 million pieces of pre-made content in the quizzes library already. When I was searching that double digit edition, like that was all ready to go. Teachers could use that. We do also have, and I think I'll share my screen again if that's all right. I think it's kind of easier to show than to tell, right? Um, Within here, especially within our interactive videos and our passages, you can search any topic, but there's also the the access in the quizzes library to all these different channels specifically. So if you're a big crash course, person and love the content they create, you can actually search in here for any topic and see, kind of what they
You
come up with. Also within our passages feature, which is exclusive to our school and district partners. But I do think it's worth sharing because, so many schools are working on that, the READ Act and trying to get students fluent in all of these um, different reading skills. Like there's a pretty vast library here as well, of different passages, or teachers can create their own or import from curriculum that they already have, which is really a pretty cool functionality as well. So yeah, lots in the library.
So one of the things, Amber, you touched on it a couple of different points, is I think the inclusion of AI into some of the quizzes tools and features. Can you speak any more to about the role of AI and what is that doing to help transform, to help enhance the learning experience of students who use the platform?
Yeah, 100%. I think, right now where quizzes is really focusing with AI is kind of in two areas. The first being how can we help save teachers time, whether that's by modifying existing resources or helping them create or enhance content quickly. Um, but also then for students, how can AI be leveraged to create that personalized content and give those students that more personalized and relevant experience? So we have, a number of things within the platform. I'll go ahead and show you a couple of those as well. We have a whole section within quizzes that's dedicated to AI. Plus, within each area of our instructional suite, there's the opportunity to use AI in different ways. But one of the easiest and coolest things that I've seen a lot of teachers doing, and probably if I were still in the classroom, I would be doing this because I was a big worksheet teacher. I'm sure my students loved that. But I can actually take any worksheet I have and import it into quizzes, and it will digitize it for that. So, I can click on import something from my Google Drive, or if I have something in a Google form or a spreadsheet, I can do that, or even paste it in here. I can also, give it a prompt, whether that's standards aligned, or whether it's just something that I, you know, create an informational text on, or an informational, create an assessment. Let's do an assessment on the role of women in World War II. Okay, we're going to do 5 questions. We're going to say this is 7th grade, maybe? I don't know. This is testing out my, and then I can select different depths of knowledge too. For this one, I'm just going to choose kind of that recall first level. It'll give me a couple prompts here. Maybe I want to focus on the workforce, and resistance movements. And that will generate a quiz. So I think, content creation is a huge piece of it, but then also that differentiation as well. So I can actually then, take this quiz, and let's say I decide now I need to enhance this and I need to differentiate this in some way. So maybe I need to translate this to another language. Maybe I have some English learners. I need to, make sure that it's relevant for them because they're newcomers, but they're still learning the content. Or maybe I need to, simplify the quiz, and make it, in a language level that's a little bit more simple. So then the AI will bring up the options. I can choose which one I would prefer to keep, and then I can either save it, discard it, go from there. So really trying to, I think, enhance what teachers are doing, save them time on the little tasks, Gosh, I remember when I would be writing assessments, I would spend so much time trying to write the wrong answers, right? Like, I'm like, oh, I got to think of like, it's got to be just tricky enough so that they might think it's right. Um, but that takes so much time. And, I think about everything that people are asked to do today at schools. Like, you don't need to spend time thinking of the wrong answers. Get some help with that. Let AI help you with that and spend time on, kind of those more important things.
Yeah, exactly. And think about what can you do then with that extra time? If you're that classroom teacher that has now this freed up stuff, can I help more students? And can I get around to individually give them the attention that they need? That's fantastic.
Um, as you look into, so like say over the next year or so,
Like the
are there
crystal ball.
yeah, are there things that Quizzes is doing that that we can look forward to seeing as we get into 2025 here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but I have, a couple things that I know are on our roadmap. We're going to continue to refine what's been rolled out with the instructional suite. So, continuing adding functionality to those lessons. I know there's been a lot of focus on making those lessons more interactive, adding some AI functionality within there. And getting some like annotation tools and things like that ready to go and launched, which will be pretty powerful. I imagine that, there will be a continued focus on keeping standards alignment front and center. Right now, we have kind of the national standards that are in there that you can generate content from. We're in the process of adding all of the different state level standards, since so many states have kind of gone and done their own thing and then continue to update those over time. So staying on top of that, and then kind of continuing to build out those reports within quizzes that show that standards alignment, that allow teachers to you know analyze trends and inform their instruction. So I think those are a few things. I'm always amazed at what our product team comes up with too, based on teacher feedback, what the school and district team is hearing in our calls. We take that back to our product team as well. And say like, I'm starting to hear this, what do we think? So
I love how you seem so passionate about not just quizzes, but also about the role technology can play to help improve learning and improve instruction. But what is it that really inspires you about working at quizzes and in the ed tech field in general?
that's a good question. Honestly, I feel like it's the people I work with and talk to every day. I work with a few different states, including Minnesota, and having those conversations about like what's actually going on now in schools and districts, and what are the challenges you're having. Is that something that we can, in some small way, help solve or support? And I think just being able to kind of collaborate both with those school and district partners, but also on our internal team. We have a lot of former educators on our team, including a lot of our leaders, which is pretty cool, and helps keep everything, I think, kind of closely tied together.
All right. Thanks for joining us for the interview and giving us a good overview of quizzes, Amber. We really appreciate it. What would be the best way for people who want to follow you or quizzes, reach out? Any of your plugs, socials, all that type of stuff. What would be the best things for that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, just we have we're on all the socials. So Twitter is kind of Twitter X, is kind of where all of the announcements come out, and we have some really awesome community folks who regularly share updates and things on there. I think it's just at quizzes. And then if anybody wants to get in touch with me directly, like I'll just put my email in the chat. You can shoot me an email. It's just amber@quizizz.com. And that is a really good way to get in touch with me. But yeah, I think we're on every social that's out there. Um,
Okay,
and then of course quizzes.com for the website.
good. And if they want to meet you in person, hopefully we can get you down to the EdTech Connect 2025
Yeah,
next year. And
And
um,
I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you too. We have a similar event that takes place just a couple of days before. So if you're on the road, you might as
perfect.
well make another pit stop up here.
yeah,
Would
you might
love
have to
it.
see me twice though, because I'm usually at Jeremy's.
That's all right. That's all right.
So
Awesome. Well,
well,
thanks so
thanks.
much for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks
thanks
again,
for
Amber.
talking. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. Thanks to Amber Deering from Quizizz for the great interview and giving us an inside look at Quizizz and some of the things that they have happening, particularly in the realm of AI, because all as we have been moving forward, we know that all these different tools are incorporating AI in some way, and it's interesting to see how they're doing it and how that's going to be beneficial for teachers as they start to utilize that aspect of this product. So if you haven't checked out Quizzes yet, make sure you do that. Give it a try, see if it's something that would help you as a teacher. And thanks again for joining us. Next week, we will be test running quizzes ourselves. So Jeremy and I will give a little bit of a demonstration tutorial on what we've done with quizzes, and you'll get to see some of that and hopefully pick up some more great ideas as we take a look. So thanks.